3 a.m. The devastating betrayal she heard moments before giving away 500M to her adopted kids. The clock struck 3. It was the witching hour, the kind of time when shadows seemed to stretch across the walls and silence curled into the corners of the room like a lurking ghost. Marissa sat in her dimly lit study, surrounded by papers and stacks of cash that could change lives. $500 million, all ready to be distributed to her adopted kids, the one she considered her world. Yet, the air felt thick and charged, almost electric, as if something dark was preparing to strike. Moments before that life-changing decision, the unmistakable ringtone of a call echoed in the stillness. Her heart raced. The name that flashed on her phone displayed was familiar but chilling. Her older brother, Daniel. They hadn't spoken in months, not since that fateful day when everything shifted, when she had learned about the family secrets he had buried deep. Curiosity kicked in, twisting her gut as she hesitated, staring at the glowing screen. Why was he calling now? With a shaky breath, she answered. Yet, nothing could prepare her for the revelation that would tear through her world. Marissa, you need to listen to me. It's about the kids. His voice trembled, laced with fear and urgency. They're not who you think they are. A lump formed in her throat, panic swirling inside her chest. She couldn't breathe. What did he mean? Outside, thunder rumbled menacingly, a warning, a premonition of the storm to come. As she pressed her ear closer to hear more, the line crackled, static buzzing like the warning bells of her mind. What was Daniel trying to say? Each word brought forth a wave of foreboding, like ice water down her spine. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach seriously. It makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, the line went dead. Just like that. Marissa's heart pounded like a drummer in a parade, every beat echoing the fear creeping up around her. She dropped her phone. The sound of its thud felt like a gunshot in the quiet room. Who were these kids? What was her brother trying to protect her from? The shadows danced menacingly on the walls as she glanced around, nerves coiling tighter. Each corner of her lavish home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a trap. She could hear faint whispers of doubt. Was everything she believed a lie? As she sat there, wrapped in uncertainty, her gaze drifted to the window. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the world outside for just a heartbeat. And in that flash, she thought she saw silhouettes lurking in her garden. Memories flashed in her mind, moments she thought were precious, now stained with doubt. Layers of betrayal wrapped around her heart. What came next could fracture everything. Who could she trust? The question hung in the air, heavy as the impending storm, leaving her breathless with suspense. As the thunder rolled, she felt an urgent pull of dark truth knocking at her door, waiting to crash into the life she thought she knew. What would she do next? Marissa's heart raced as the shadows outside her window flickered with the rhythm of the storm. The silhouettes she glimpsed in the garden sent a jolt of adrenaline through her veins, igniting primal instincts she didn't know she had. Struggling to steady her breath, she stood, her palms clammy and her mind spiraling into chaos. Was Daniel right? Were the children she loved truly deceivers? Anxiety tangled with rage, creating a tempest inside her that mirrored the weather outside. She approached the window cautiously, peering down into the dark abyss beneath the boughs of the trees that lined her yard. Every sound amplified in her ears: the rustle of leaves, the distant roll of thunder, her own heart thrumming like a war drum. Her eyes narrowed. As another flash of lightning tore across the sky, the figures were gone. Had she imagined them? Her mind taunted her with questions. What if they were just shadows of her doubts? Or worse, a manifestation of something sinister lying just beneath the surface? She backed away from the window and sank into her chair, its plush fabric suddenly feeling suffocating. The reality of the money sitting on her desk loomed large. $500 million. Was it really meant for the children? Or had their existence been a ruse, a path to her wealth? In that moment of despair, her phone buzzed violently against the table, breaking through her spiraling thoughts. Her pulse quickened again as she saw the name on the screen. Daniel. A mix of dread and hope flooded through her. Was he calling with more information, or was this another torment? Marissa, he began, his voice heavy with urgency. You need to be careful. The truth about the kids is darker than you think. Trust no one, not even me. The static crackled ominously, but his next words shone through. You must look into their past. I can't tell you everything, but find their birth names. It's the key to unraveling the mystery. What are you talking about? She shot back, urgency bursting from her lips. You have to dig deeper. Look for connections, follow the money. They're pieces in a game that you don't even know you're playing. Before she could reply, the line went dead once more, leaving her engulfed in frantic silence. She scoured her mind for clarity, but it ignited more questions than answers. Who had adopted her children? Why would Daniel say such awful things? The creaking of the house brought her back to her dread-filled reality. Her heart raced as she noticed something move just outside her door. The echo of soft footsteps lingered in the hallway. Who is there? She called, trying to summon authority in her voice, even as her knees trembled. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. She pulled herself up, every instinct telling her to hide. Was it someone coming to take the money? Or was her betrayal following her, creeping in like the storm? The door slowly creaked open, revealing a darkened figure. Marissa squinted, trying to make out the silhouette that emerged. Are you going to give it to us? A familiar voice whispered, chilling her to the bone. The revelation sank deep into her gut. Who are you? She stammered, her breath hitching. We are everything you never wanted to know, and you don't have much time left to choose. Marissa's mind raced faster than her heartbeat. They were not just kids. They were silhouettes embedded with secrets that could break her world apart. As the storm roared outside, she realized that she was standing at a precipice. What she would do next could either lead to salvation or doom. The truth was out there, and so was danger, lurking closer than she could ever imagine. With a sudden flash, the lights flickered, and she found herself alone in the dim light, only the echoes of her own terrified breath accompanying her. What would the shadows reveal when light illuminated the truth? And what choice would she make when dawn finally broke? Marissa's heart hammered in her chest as the icy grip of fear took hold. The voice that whispered from the shadows belonged to her oldest child, Emma. She had always seemed so innocent, so full of light. Now, being surrounded by darkness, that light felt dangerously out of reach. Emma. Marissa's voice trembled, every nerve ending firing in alarm. What do you mean, give it to us? The figure stepped forward, revealing sharp features illuminated by a crack of lightning. The room seemed to pulse with an electric energy, the kind that foreshadows a storm more violent than any she had witnessed. Mom, it's time to face the truth, Emma said, her voice steady but laced with an urgency that chilled Marissa deeper than the lightning's flash. You can't hide from it any longer. We have to discuss the money and everything else. Marissa recoiled slightly, confusion swirling inside her like a vortex. Was this truly the daughter she had raised, speaking of betrayal as if they were friends instead of family? You don't understand, she snapped, frustration bursting forth. I work for that money. Your children, you're supposed to what? Emma interrupted, her expression hardening. Be grateful when we're nothing more than pawns in a game you don't even comprehend? You're missing the bigger picture, Mom. There are things you don't know, things about who we really are. The echoes of her daughter's words reverberated in the silence of the dimly lit room, mingling with the distant thunder that rumbled like a warning. Marissa stepped back, her mind racing to connect the dots. Daniel's warning smacked into her, vivid against the backdrop of Emma's haunting revelation. What do you mean by pawns? Marissa's voice broke. Each word struggled from her throat like a stone. The shadows shifted, twisting as if the storm itself hungrily drew closer, pressing it on her. "We can show you," came another voice, a softer one belonging to Lily, her youngest. She stepped into the light, her eyes bright but filled with unshed tears. "But you need to trust us. The truth about Daniel and the money, it's all tied to us." Marissa's stomach lurched, dread pooling in her chest. "Why would I trust you? You're saying these things. What if you're just trying to manipulate me?" What if suddenly a thunderous crash of lightning illuminated the room, highlighting Emma's fierce expression and Lily's desperate sorrow in one sharp moment? In that instant, Marissa caught a glimpse of something else woven into their features in echo of familiarity, a shared history she couldn't quite recognize. "Trust us, please," Lily pleaded. "You think we're just kids, but we know this family, and this money is more twisted than you could ever imagine." A shiver raced down Marissa's spine, fear entwining with a fleeting thread of understanding. What if you're wrong? What if you're just playing a part? A brief silence hung, thick with tension. What if your life is based on lies? Emma shot back, her voice low and charged with emotion. What if everything you think you know about us, and even yourself, is a mirage? You need to decide what you value more, wealth or the truth. Marissa's breath hitched, her mind spiraling again. Everything she thought she understood was being pulled apart thread by thread. Just then, the lights flickered wildly before plunging the room into darkness, leaving only the distant flash of lightning to guide them. "The storm is a sign," Emma whispered, her voice softer now. "You cannot escape the chaos forever." Marissa felt her way back to the window, desperation tugging at her. Just beyond the glass, the tempest raged, but the path to the truth remained obscured in shadow. She needed answers, but at what cost? Before she could make a move, a higher-pitched cry echoed from somewhere deep within the house, shattering the moment. A voice, small and panicked, called her name. "Mom." It was another child, one she hadn't remembered, huh? Her heart sank with dread. "Please, don't go," Lily urged, urgency biting in her voice that Marissa's resolve wavered, fear driving her thoughts into a frenzy. What lay ahead? Could trusting her children lead her to the answers or to more danger? As the thunder cracked fiercely overhead, a choice loomed like the storm, one that would force Marissa into the heart of the tempest. Who would she protect, and what price would she pay? The storm roared as she clutched the window frame, ready to confront whatever awaited her on the other side. And it was then that she heard a chilling whisper from the shadows that sent a new wave of dread rushing through her veins. "You want to believe what comes next." Marissa stood frozen, her heart fluttering wildly in her chest. The chilling whisper resonated in her mind, engulfing her in an icy grip of dread. Shadows flickered like twisted shapes, crawling along walls that felt suddenly too close, as if the very house was alive with secrets ready to be unleashed. "Mom." That small voice broke through the haze of fear, a desperate scream that sent a stab of panic through her gut. It belonged to Finn, her youngest boy, the sweet child whose laughter used to fill this house with light. Now, that light felt muted, buried beneath layers of confusion and darkened truths threatening to erupt. "Finn!" she shouted, instinctively moving toward the direction of the cry. The rain pounded against the windows with a violent rhythm, drowning out everything else. Panic clawed at her throat. "Where are you?" "Mom, I'm scared. Please." His voice trembled, sending ruptures through Marissa's composure as she fought to push past her fears. Emma and Lily watched, their expressions a mix of concern and an almost unsettling eagerness that made Marissa's skin prickle. "Stay here," she snapped, casting a frantic glance back. As she bolted down the hallway, the sound of thunder roared above, synchronized with each pounding step she took. She could barely breathe, her chest tight with the burden of uncertainty and dread. "Mom." Finn's voice echoed again. She chased the sound, guilt gnawing at her as she envisioned the worst. What if something had happened? What if he was trapped? Reaching the bedroom door, she swung it open, the dim light revealing the chaos within. Finn sat on the floor, his small frame trembling, wide eyes glistening with tears. Relief washed over her, yet it was laced with confusion. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "I had a bad dream," Finn whimpered, but the way his gaze darted to the corner of the room made her skin crawl. She felt at the air thickening, the shadows creeping toward them like fingers curling ominously. At that moment, a piercing scream cut through her thoughts. It wasn't Finn. It wasn't even Emma or Lily. The sound was harsh, animalistic, primal, sending a spiral of horror into Marissa's chest. "Stay close to me," she commanded Finn, sweeping him into her arms. The little boy clung to her tightly, the fear vibrating off him like an electric pulse. "What was that?" Finn whimpered, burying his face into Marissa's shoulder. She hated the way his body shook against her, the way her own instinct to protect felt broken. With no answer, Marissa's heart hammered in her ears as she moved back into the hall, the shadows feeling heavier, coiling around her. Emma and Lily were gone. They had vanished without a trace. Panic surged anew. "Emma? Lily?" she shouted, her voice echoing through the empty space. "Mom," Finn whispered, his tiny voice trembling. She turned to face him, but the connection felt fragile, delicate, as if the storm outside had twisted reality itself. What if they left us? What if they... No, they wouldn't do that. Even as she said the words aloud, doubts wormed their way into her mind. What were they after? What did they want from her? Desperate to find her daughters, Marissa clutched Finn tightly and moved toward the dying embers of the living room. The space was scattered with shadows, flickering like whispers from a past she couldn't quite remember. Then the lights flickered, only for a moment, before plunging them back into darkness. In that pitch black, a voice emanated from the depths of the house, eerie and familiar. "Mom, do you love us? Do you really know who we are?" Chill shot down Marissa's spine. Was Emma playing mind games? Or was the storm revealing truths that were meant to stay hidden? Suddenly, a startling realization hit her. What if this has all been a setup? Her mind raced, piecing together fragments of the whispers, the looks exchanged, the tangled emotions. Thunder crashed, shaking the foundations of the house. "Finn, stay close, no matter what." She gripped him tighter, the world around them becoming a frenzy of fear and confusion. Through the storm, a figure emerged. In the dim light, shadowy yet familiar. Her heart sank as the face came into view, a smile twisting across lips that should have been warm but now felt ominous. "Ready to learn the truth, Mom?" Emma's voice was eerily calm, like silk masking steel. Every instinct in Marissa screamed to retreat, to shield Finn from whatever was about to unfold. What truth awaited her in this storm of shadows and revelations? As lightning flashed, illuminating Emma's face twisted with something dark and intoxicating, Marissa realized she was standing on the edge of a revelation that would change everything. A choice loomed. But what if it all spiraled into chaos? The storm raged on, echoing an impending downfall. Marissa's heart pounded in her chest, a wild drum signaling the chaos brewing around her. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, whispering secrets that curled around her ankles like tendrils of smoke. Finn clung to her tighter, his little fingers digging into her blouse, grounding her even as the world threatened to spin into madness. "Emma, what do you mean? What truth?" Marissa's voice trembled, straining to maintain a composure that felt increasingly fickle. The air thickened with a tension she could almost taste. She felt regret echoing painfully in her chest, the kind that came from knowing she should have seen the signs much earlier. "Do you really love us, Mom?" Emma's smile danced between sweet and sinister, a riddle wrapped in mystery. As lightning cracked outside, illuminating her features, Marissa could see something unfurling in her daughter's eyes of darkness, a premonition of betrayal that struck colder than the rain outside. "Of course I do. You know I love you all." Each word felt heavier, sinking into her gut. But doubt flickered at the edges of her mind like candlelight, flickering uncertainly in the draft. Behind Emma, the darkness shifted. Was it merely a trick of the storm, or was something waiting, lurking beyond sight? Suddenly, the room teetered between reality and a chilling nightmare. Where's Lily? Marissa demanded, a jolt of fear slicing through her. She couldn't let herself think of what might happen if she didn't keep Finn close, safe. Yes, not far, Emma said, her tone laced with a frightening calm. But she might not come back, Mom. You can make it all change if you just let go of the past. You're still holding on to things that don't exist anymore. What was happening? What past was Emma referring to? Marissa clenched her jaw, struggling against a rising tide of fear as her mind raced to connect the dots. Dark memories bubbled to the surface, moments she had all but buried. But the urgency of the present shattered her focus again. Finn, she gasped, tightening her grip on him, as only an instinct to protect from an unseen threat mattered now. But how was she meant to protect him from the very person she had cared for like a parent? Emma had been her little girl, her daughter. But this was a creature of shadows, twisted by something more profound than childhood fears. Let us go find Lily, Marissa said, try to will her voice to calm, a steadfast anchor against the storm. Finn responded with a slight nod, his wide eyes darting between her and Emma, as if trying to gauge which of them was the real danger. In that moment, a loud crash resonated through the house, a collapsing of something significant somewhere beyond their view. The walls seemed to pulse, the air crackling with foreboding vibrance around them, as something lifted the rear curtain of darkness even heavier. Stay here, Marissa shouted, her fear amplifying. She didn't want to lose them both. Her heart thundered in her ears. She backed away, but Emma remained, her expression shifting. The twist of Emma's lips curled upwards. That was the wrong response. There was a certainty wrapped in the way she moved closer, her steps purposeful. A sudden flash of light illuminated shadows moving behind Emma, an echo of giggles that didn't belong. Mom, it's not what you think. Emma's voice pulled Marissa's attention, but it's what she did next that sent a chilling shiver down Marissa's spine. With a flick of her wrist, Emma conjured darkness from the abyss, throwing it forward like a shroud. It enveloped Marissa and Finn, consumed them in its obsidian depths. The world around them warped, a cyclone of fear and betrayal spinning in an encased illusion. All around, she felt the presence of shadows, cries echoing through centuries of family secrets. She realized with a jolt, the truth was more sinister than anything she'd imagined. Finn, hold on to me, she shouted, the panic surging anew, but the shadows whispered louder, taunting. Mom, do you really know who we are? As the storm raged on outside, a crack of thunder blared. Marissa knew the answer to that. Question would unravel everything. What would she uncover next, hidden behind her daughter's faces? As darkness tightened its grip, Marissa felt reality slip further away. What was the truth that had the power to destroy them all? The answer hovered just out of reach, slipping like sand through her fingers as she realized. It was a truth she never expected to face. Marissa's breath hitched in her throat, the shadows swirling tighter around her, and Finn, as if they had become part of an unfathomable tapestry, unraveling a dark history. Her mind raced, scrambling against the confusion. Emma's eyes sparkled with something eldritch, a strange power behind them, and Marissa felt herself being drawn into a vortex of dread. Mom, listen closely, Emma whispered, her tone strangely soothing amidst the chaos. You've been looking at the past all wrong. It's time you knew the real story. The moment felt charged, a teetering balance between impending horror and some kind of twisted revelation pushing against the boundaries of Marissa's understanding. The sound of Finn whimpering broke through her stupor, grounding her momentarily. She turned her gaze down to him, his small frame quivering with fear as he pressed against her. All instinct told her to flee, to save him from whatever sinister force her daughter had become. But the depth of Emma's words anchored her dangerously in place. Whatever you're going to say, Emma, just stop. Marissa begged, desperation lacing her voice. You're scaring Finn. We need to find Lily. Lily is safe, Emma murmured, her expression morphing, softening for just a heartbeat. She has part of it too, and you have to face it. We're not the family you thought we were. Thunder clapped again, louder this time, shaking the very foundation of their home and filling the air with an electric tension. Shadows danced wildly, morphing into grotesque forms only to dissolve back into nothingness. Marissa felt her stomach lurch. Tell me the truth. What do you mean? Suddenly, the darkness shifted like a living entity. A disembodied chime echoed through the room, a sound that felt alarmingly familiar. It waits in the heart. It whispered faintly, an eerie cadence that twisted the very fabric of her reality. The words crawled beneath her skin, igniting memories from a distant past. Family gatherings where secrets simmered just below the surface. Maybe if you had loved us better, Emma said, sincerity slicing through her words. We wouldn't have had to choose between who we are and who you wanted us to be. Marissa noticed Finn's tiny hands clasp around her wrist, trying to pull her closer, trying to protect her from Emma, but from what? Perhaps from the truth that swirled in the air like thick smoke. She found herself taking a step back, the horror in Emma's eyes growing unparalleled. She had become a stranger. Love isn't what you think it is, Mom. Love has shadows, just like us. Emma's voice escalated, growing fierce. And maybe it's time you face the darkness. What darkness? Marissa shot back, a flicker of defiance sparking in her chest. With a sweep of Emma's hand, the darkness surged towards her, a torrent of whispers pulling at her mind, unraveling threads of her life that had been carefully woven together. Memories trickled into her thoughts, the whispers becoming sentences, stories spun from the stories of loss, betrayal, and twisted truths. A child laughing, a shattering glass, fleeting glimpses of a life too complicated to untangle now. Suddenly, a flow of icy air rushed in, and with it came a vision of Lily's terrified face, her delicate hands reaching out through the darkness. You need to remember Lily's voice, like a gust of wind, echoed both far and near, leaving chills in its wake. We are waiting for you to choose, Mom. The shadows pulsed violently, splitting the air thick with uncertainty, and Marissa felt as though they were opening a gateway, a void flashing with her past decisions and regrets. In that instant, she faced a chilling realization. Every choice she had made had led her here. She heard a fragment of shattered memories colliding in a cacophony of sound, and with them came the weight of betrayal, her own daughter harboring secrets that reached far beyond childhood fears and into a reality that threatened to swallow them whole. Mom, it's all in your hands, Emma whispered again, and this time the words hung in the air like a decree. Marissa's heart hammered. What did that mean? With panic threatening to consume her every thought, she had to decide. But the choice loomed over her like a storm, dark and turbulent. Who was she really saving? As the storm outside raged on, the darkness seemed to beckon her. What would she uncover in the depths of the truth? What reality awaited her? Could she find the strength to face her family's shattered facade? Or would she succumb to the shadows, clamoring for her attention? The answer hovered dangerously close, ready to unveil itself even as the shadows tightened their chilling grip. The air crackled with energy as Marissa stood rooted in place, the weight of her daughter's revelation crashing down on her like a tidal wave. Finn, trembling beside her, looked up with wide, terrified eyes, and she could feel his small heart racing in sync with her own. Yet Emma's eyes glimmered with an ancient wisdom, something fierce and relentless. What I need to remember. Marissa's voice wavered, desperate for clarity, while the shadows twisted menacingly around them. Each moment felt like a step further into an abyss, the pull so strong it nearly swept her away. A choice, Emma replied, her voice steady like the eye of a storm. Mom, love is just a reflection of what we hide. Marissa's breath caught in her throat. The shadows flickered as if they understood, the air thickening with the weight of unspoken truths. She drew nearer, each step a battle against the gnawing dread enveloping her. What do you mean by that? The choices we make carve the paths we walk. Some lead to light, but many spiral into darkness, into the things we bury. Emma extended her arm, palm open, a gesture of invitation, but also warning. We are not just your daughters. We're the shadows of your decisions. And if you don't face it, someone will suffer. A chill pierced Marissa's heart. Memories flashed in her mind like ghostly apparitions raising her daughters, her efforts muddied with a tide of regrets. She weighed her love against her fears, each decision pressing against her like a vice. Remember the stories Aunt Clara told us? Emma's voice sliced through her turmoil, recalling the late nights filled with tales of curses and ancestral sins. This isn't just about us. This goes back further than you think. At that moment, the walls shivered, resonating with an unearthly pulse. A bloodline cursed, chained to their choices, whispered the shadows in unison, their voices chilling beneath her skin. Marissa's heart raced, a legacy of pain intertwined with her family's history. "Finn, stand back," she cried out instinctively, pushing her son behind her, feeling a primal urge to shield him from whatever darkness was brewing. "We need to get out of here." But Emma shook her head, the shadows dancing ominously around her. "You can't run, Mom. This is where it ends. You have to face the echo of your past." Marissa's mind spun, vertigo creeping in. The plea revealed a haunting truth, clawing at her sanity. She could not escape the decisions made along the way, choices that haunted them. Did she choose ignorance over knowledge? Comfort over truth? "Mom." Finn's voice, small but insistent, pulled her back. "We have to help Lily." A sudden surge of fear flooded her. Lily, out there somewhere, alone and afraid. The frantic need to protect her filled the pit of Marissa's stomach. What was the price of this twisted game her family was drawn into? Had her actions placed her daughter's lives at risk? "Show me," she whispered, fierce determination igniting within. "Show me what I need to do." The shadows roared to life, swirling violently, and in an instant, the room transformed. She saw flashes of her past cluttered with memories of her choices, the love, the mistakes. Each moment crystallized, revealing how her actions had forged a path dripping with consequences. "Now," Mom Emma's voice reminded her, but it was muffled by the cacophony of echoes consuming her. Marissa's hands trembled violently as the truth unfurled before her. Would she have the strength to unearth everything she had buried deep in her heart? More importantly, would it be enough to save Lily from whatever darkness now sought to claim her? In that moment, Marissa knew a storm was brewing within her, and the time to choose was fast approaching. But before she could comprehend the enormity of the truth, the shadows surged once more, pulling at her like an insatiable force. "What if your choice is what shatters us?" A voice echoed coldly through the dark, twisting her heart in knots. With a sudden jolt, the walls trembled, threatening to swallow them whole. As the energy crackled violently around them, Marissa's resolve hardened. She would face it all, no matter the cost. And as the darkness snarled around them, she took a step forward, unyielding. "I choose to fight." But would it be enough to unearth the buried pain? And could she save them all in the process? The suspense suspended time as shadows closed in, revealing the abyss she might have to leap into. What horrors awaited when she took that leap? The air thickened with anticipation, leaving an unbearable question hanging overhead. Would she manage to resurface or be doomed to drown in her own making? The moment Marissa declared her intention to fight, the shadows recoiled as if struck, their movements stuttering. A silence fell, thick and suffocating. Finn looked up at her, vibrant with concern, his small frame trembling against her. The dark was restless, swirling at the edges like a storm brewing in a distant sky. "What now, Mom?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper, yet filled with a courage that sparked hope in Marissa. The very fact her son stood there, resolute amidst the chaos, fueled her drive to protect him and his sisters. "I don't know, Finn," she admitted, swallowing hard. Fear tightened her chest, each breath a reminder of the horrors hanging in the air. "But I'll find a way." Emma stepped closer, her eyes a whirlwind of emotion. We need to confront the truth together, Mom, she insisted, her voice steady an anchor in this tempest. The shadows 1T reveal their secrets easily. You have to be ready to face your past. In a surge of determination, Marissa took a deep breath. The shadows writhed like live serpents, and she felt their gaze piercing through her. Guide me, she pleaded, the words escaping her lips as if calling for help. Whatever it takes, I'll do it. With a sudden flicker, the space around them shifted again, blurring reality as if they were being sucked into a vortex. Images exploded in her mind. Holidays spent laughing in warm sunlight, moments of joy edged with unspoken fears, Lydia's first steps caught in a haze of pain and sorrow. The past, a mosaic of choices, glared back at her hauntingly. Remember, Emma guided, the moments you chose comfort over truth. You buried things to keep us safe, but that safety came at a cost. Marissa's heart sank as the memories poured in, each one a ghost tugging at her mind. Each choice echoed with regret, and she could feel the weight of them all. She had cast aside important conversations, sidestepped conflicts for peace, and now it spiraled into darkness. She clenched her fists at her sides, glancing from Finn to Emma. I've tried to protect you, she whispered, her voice breaking as guilt flooded her. But it seems I was only delaying the inevitable. Suddenly, the shadows grew still, the silence now heavy with tension. Face your buried truth, the voices murmured, before it consumes you and those you love. Marissa's gaze flicked to the floor, where the shadows seemed to writhe, pulling at her feet, urging her to step into the depths of her choices. What am I hiding? She breathlessly pondered. The air shifted, cold and jarring. A low rumble echoed, trembling through the ground beneath them. Lily, she gasped suddenly, realization crashing down on her. Her actions had consequences far beyond her knowledge. Had she overlooked hidden signs in her daughter's behavior? Finn's small hand grasped hers tightly. We'll find her, Mom. I know we will, he said, king courage woven into his voice. But the younger ones were always perceptive. That mix of determination and fear seemed to rise in him. What is happening? Emma cried out, her eyes wide as she felt the looming presence of the shadows grow heavier. We need to gather all the light that's left in us. The choices we make now will ripple through time. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for Lily. Marissa stepped forward into the shadows, their chill sucking at her resolve, but igniting a fire in her veins. The darkness swirled, ready to engulf her completely, but she sensed something shifting. Then it's time to shed the past, she declared with newfound strength. To own every choice. The shadows recoiled as a bright light flickered to life within her, fueled by the raw emotion of her love for her children. The darkness howled, and she could feel the battle raging, the push and pull of every decision she'd ever made writhing around them. But in this melee of shadows and light, a terrifying question loomed. Would that light withstand the darkness her past choices twisted with pain? Or had she left it too late to summon the truth? As the shadows closed in, a deafening roar echoed, shaking the very foundations of their reality. Marissa's eyes widened as she recognized the power that lay within her grasp, and with it, the terror of failure. Hold on, everyone, she shouted, thrusting her arms wide as the fight escalated. The ground trembled, and the shadows watched, hungry and expectant, poised to claim her, to unearth her truth. What sacrifice would she need to embrace to shield her loved ones from the darkness that now threatened to annihilate them all? Would love at last illuminate their path, or were they destined to be consumed by the very past she'd longed to escape? The shadows lunged forward, a dark wave crashing against Marissa's feeble light. It was overwhelming, a tide of despair that clawed at her mind and soul. Yet, in that darkness, she felt a flickering will inside of her, a stubborn fire born from desperation and defiance. Remember us, Finn cried, clinging to her side. His small body was trembling, but his voice rang strong, cutting through the chaos. Emma stood ready, arms outstretched as if to embrace the storm. Her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and fierce determination. Marissa's heart raced, matching the pulse of the ground beneath their feet. With every echoing heartbeat, the shadows elongated and twisted, pleas rising from their gaping mouths, whispers of her past, and fragile memories that begged to be laid bare. It was excruciating to bear, yet she strengthened her resolve. "I want to let you take them," she shouted into the void, her voice carrying an unforgiving edge. In response, the shadows shrieked, a cacophony of sorrow echoing through the air. Marissa felt the shadows tighten their grip, encircling her like a serpent ready to strike. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, pulling deeply from the core of her love for her children. "You will not win this battle." The ground beneath her feet fractured, sending shock waves through the thrumming darkness. In that instant, light burst forth, shimmering like shards of glass illuminated by the sun. It spilled from Marissa's outstretched hands, radiant and fierce. The shadows recoiled, screeching in anguish, retreating from the encroaching light. "Finn, Emma, take my hands," Marissa urged, her voice fierce and unwavering. They obeyed without hesitation. The trio stood resolute, united against the swirling menace. The shadows faltered before the brightness, but didn't shy away completely. They clawed back with a hunger that sent icy fingers creeping up Marissa's spine. What would it take to cast away this darkness, to unearth the truth she desperately needed to confront? Mom Finn trembled, his small hand slipping slightly in hers. "What if we can't defeat it?" His words cut deep. She didn't want to think about that possibility. Facing the uncertainty made her legs tremble. But what choice did she have? "We have to try, Finn. We have to uncover the truth about Lily." Marissa's heart quickened at the mention of her daughter's name. For far too long, she had allowed her insecurities and fears to dictate her life. This was not just a fight for survival. It was a reclaiming of the family that had crumbled under the weight of secrets. Suddenly, a memory pierced through the chaos. Lily's laughter echoing through the halls of their home, sunlight dancing across her curly hair. "She needs us," Marissa cried out, the piercing urgency igniting a new kind of energy within her. "We want to lose her to this darkness." The shadows roared in fury, their shape fracturing and breaching sanity. They lunged at her, seemingly unified in purpose, all chaotic limbs and eyes that glinted with malice. They craved darkness, but Marissa held fast, continuing to pour forth all her love as a barrier between her children and the abyss. "Look for the light," Emma shouted, raising her own hands to the golden glow erupting from their combined force. "Mom, fight with everything you have. We're right here with you." Marissa felt the surge of force so strong. It was as if a tide of warmth was washing over her, forcing the shadows back. But with that came a deep fear of what lay ahead. Would facing the truth save her daughter, or would the weight of it set them all adrift? The shadows wailed, a soul-piercing sound that resonated through the air, wrapping around them like a vice. "You can't escape the truth," they hissed. "It will always find you." Marissa's heart sank. They were right. The truth could be as dark as the shadows that threatened them. "What will you sacrifice to protect your own?" The murmur came again, chilling her to her core. The very essence of those words echoed inside her heart, raising the stakes in the unfurling battle. "We'll do anything," she whispered, realizing. She was standing at the edge of a precipice at the center of a choice of monumental significance. As the shadows surged forward one last time, she took a breath, prepared for whatever revelation awaited her. The fight for her family raged on, and with it simmered an unsettling truth that would shatter everything she believed. What price would she have to pay to save Lily from the darkness that loomed? And would that revelation ultimately pull them together or tear them apart forever? With the earth trembling beneath her feet, Marissa found herself deep in the battle against the consuming darkness. Coursing through her veins was a surge of something primal and powerful The instinct to protect her children flickered brighter than the darkest shadows that threatened to swallow them whole. Each echoed whisper of doubt intertwined with the desperate resolve she felt for Finn and Emma. "Remember the light," she shouted, lifting her hands higher, radiating a fierce determination that sliced through the murky veil of despair. Her voice rang out, reverberating against the walls as the shadows shrieked, a sound so chilling it threatened to break her spirit. Finn's small grip tightened around hers. "Don't let go, Mom. I won T." In that moment, she felt that the truth pushing against her defenses, tugging at her heart and soul. "Emma, what must I do?" "Face the truth within. It's time to uncover everything." Emma's voice rose above the turmoil, steady and resolute, echoing the urgency coursing through both their spirits. It was an invitation to plunge into the depths of the unknown, to confront secrets woven through their very existence. The shadows writhed, thrumming with anticipation, waiting for Marissa to falter. But the flicker of light at her fingertips pulsed with energy, the love she had for her children, the sacrifices she would make for honesty, and the need to shield them from pain. Marissa took a deep breath and plunged into the darkness pooling around them. A rush of memories swirled, a tapestry of laughter, warmth, and the haunting echoes of unresolved sorrow. Faces flashed, images of family gatherings spent navigating laughter and love. Yet each smile hid a whisper of truth, a truth that branched into the heartbreaks they had all tried to forget. She stumbled upon a fragment buried deep a moment when Lily had looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes, asking about her birth parents filled with sincerity marred only by fear. "Do I belong with them, Mom?" The question hung in the air, echoing through the folds of time, deep and resonant. The shadows lashed out again, gnarled hands reaching, desperate to shroud her and Finn in despair. "She can't handle it," they screeched in unison. "Enough," Marissa roared, summoning strength she didn't know she possessed. "I know who we are. I'll fight for my family." The shadows recoiled momentarily, and in that flicker of vulnerability, Marissa seized the opportunity. She focused on Lily, conjuring the strength of her love, the fierce will to protect that sweet child. "I'm not afraid to learn. I want to turn my back on my own. Your love will only lead to devastation." The shadows wailed, their voices dripping with malice. "Face it, you cannot escape the monster of your creation." But Marissa drew closer to the glowing light blossoming within her, feeling each child's heartbeat intertwined with her own. Their collective breaths, steady and triumphant, created a shield. "We are not monsters. We are survivors." And with that proclamation, the swirling shadows darkened, even as a tear in their veil began to unfurl light the world had not seen for ages. The truth pressed solidly against the dark walls. Tension built, thick as the storm raging outside, as Marissa steeled her resolve, each pulse throbbing in energy. "Finn, look," Emma cried, indicating where the darkness thinned, revealing a way forward. "We can fight for her together." Marissa followed Emma's shout, darting toward the light peeking through. Each step seemed to pulse along with her love for Lily, anchoring her to reality, compelling her to break free from the shadows that turned her home into their lair. "Lily!" Marissa screamed, her voice carrying through the chaos, echoing like a spell cast against the encroaching terrors. Every nerve in her body tingled with adrenaline, igniting a burning desire to see her daughter safe. "I'm coming for you." With renewed strength, the trio chased the light, Finn in tow, surging through the writhing darkness, each step grounding them deeper into the love they shared. Together, they were a force, untamed, combating fears and realizations that threatened to drown them. Just then, amidst the chaos, a small voice broke through the din, a sound so pure and unmistakable. "Mom!" It was Lily, her face peering through the darkness, wide-eyed but resolved. "Help me." She reached out her arms, desperately grasping for her mother's love amidst the shadows swirling around her. "Lily!" Marissa's heart broke and mended in an instant. She lunged forward, Finn at her side, both racing towards the glowing core where Lily stood, bathed in the ethereal light of hope. In that moment, everything clicked: the aching sense of belonging, the chaos of love and pain, all intertwined to finally understand that confronting their past was the key to breaking free of shadows. It was all a painful but necessary journey toward healing. Surrendering into that understanding, Marissa wrapped her arms around her daughter, and the light exploded into a radiant brilliance, consuming the darkness while casting aside tendrils of despair. Tears streamed down her cheeks, a release of love and sorrows that had long been hoarded. "I've got you," she whispered, clinging to Lily as Finn and Emma joined them, forming an unbreakable bond, rooted in truth and power they had always shared. And in that embrace, beneath the storm still raging outside, all the aftershocks shattered, each thread of darkness dissipating into mere echoes of fear. The shadows writhed, clawing away as light flooded their surroundings, illuminating the path toward redemption. Marissa's heart swelled, filled with love, compassion, and the rawness of connection, and at long last they had turned the tide. Standing together as a family reborn, they would face the world again. Together, Marissa breathed, enveloped by the warmth of her children, their bond unfurling like a flag in the wind. "No more shadows," Emma declared fiercely, the resolve in her eyes radiating strength. "Only love," Finn added confidently. And as the house steadied around them, the storm outside began to wane. They had dared to confront the shadows and emerged victorious. As dawn broke, casting warm, golden rays through the windows, Marissa vowed to never let the dark secrets return together. They would forge a new path, honoring their truths. "Let us go," she said, urging her family forward with the light of hope guiding them into the fresh morning. The darkness was left behind, a chapter closed in the book of their lives. Marissa led her children out of that darkened abyss into a new beginning, full of possibilities. And with that journey ahead, she couldn't have felt more alive. Now, it's your turn. If you love this conclusion and want to hear more stories like this, you need to subscribe immediately. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear your reactions and thoughts. Flood the comment section with your theories about this ending. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support, and let us dive deeper into these incredible stories together.